Hello everybody, my name is Steve Wilson and I'm a trombone player in the Greenville Symphony. This is what a trombone looks like. And I've been playing the trombone a really long time. I've been playing it for about 50 years, actually over 50 years now. I play in orchestras, I play in jazz bands and rock bands and brass bands, and play in church. I play all sorts of different kinds of music in all sorts of different kind of places, and that's one of the things I really like about the trombone and about music, is you get to play a lot of different kinds of things with a lot of different kinds of people. Anyway, I started when I was about 9 or 10 years old in grade school in the band with some of my friends, and I hope all of you will think about doing the same thing. It's really an awful lot of fun. I've been playing in the Greenville Symphony for over 30 years, and really had a lot of great experiences in this symphony. I've met a lot of really interesting, a lot of very talented people, made a lot of really, really good friends, and just had a really great time playing in the orchestra. People ask me all the time, how do you make sound on a trombone, or what makes a sound on a trombone? Some people think you just have to blow into the instrument. Well, it makes a sound kind of like a wind, but it doesn't make a sound like a musical instrument. Some people think you have to blow into it and move the slide at the same time. No, that didn't work either. Something's missing. Something has to vibrate, kind of like on a violin, the string vibrates, or inside a piano, the string vibrates. Or on a clarinet, they have a reed that vibrates when they blow air over it. So what vibrates on a brass instrument, and that's what the trombone is, it's a brass instrument, and all of the brass instruments make their sound the same way, and that is the brass musician, the person, has to make the sound with their lips by making them vibrate. And the way you do that is you exhale, you blow out, and you hold your lips in such a way that they flap together. Kind of like this. It's kind of like a horse sound, right? You've probably heard people do that before. If you do a little bit, if you make your lips flap a little bit faster, sounds maybe a little bit more like a motorboat, or I don't know, a motorcycle or something like that. And if you make them vibrate even faster, or flap together even faster, you get something that you can kind of use for a brass musician. And by making my lips flap together faster and slower, the pitch can go higher and lower. How about that, right? So that's what it sounds like when you just buzz without a mouthpiece or without the instrument, and that's not really very usable, but this is the mouthpiece, and this goes in the end of the trombone. This is the end that I buzz into, and it's the mouthpiece, and it looks like that really big. Anyway, this is what it sounds like when I buzz into the mouthpiece. And I was doing the same thing. I was making my lips vibrate faster and slower to go higher, faster, and slower for lower. All right, so that's what it sounds like with the mouthpiece. If I put the mouthpiece in the trombone and it goes like that, it sounds a little more like something we can use in a musical band. Right? Now I'm going to show you something, and when I talked about making notes higher and lower by just changing the vibrations of your lips, or the speed of your lips, that's exactly what a bugle player does. You've probably all heard this before. So I was getting all those different pitches, all those different notes by simply making my lips vibrate faster or slower. Now there's another way to make pitches go higher or lower on a brass instrument, but the trombone's a little bit unique because we don't have any valves like the trumpets and the tubas and the French horns do. Those are the other brass instruments primarily that you're going to see in the orchestra. We have a slide that goes in and out, and that's what makes the instrument longer or shorter. And that's another way to change pitch on the trombone. And here's what it looks like. Right? You've probably heard something like that. I'm sure you've heard this. That's the funny trombone player stuff, right? Yeah, we've all heard that before. So there's two ways to change the pitch on the trombone. One is to make your lips go faster or slower to go higher or lower, and the other way is to use the slide to get different pitches, or a combination of all of those things, and you get something kind of like this. little bit of both on that. I move the slide to make the pitch a little bit. I use the slide to make the notes a little bit kind of sloppy and funny, and use my lips to go up and down on the pitches too. And that's basically how you make the different sounds on the trombone, or like I said, any other brass instrument. Now the trombone is, the range of the trombone is actually pretty wide. It has a lot of instruments in the trombone family. As a matter of fact, it's a lot like the human voice. We actually have a soprano trombone, we have tenor trombones, and alto trombones, and bass trombones, and contrabass trombones. The most common trombone that you're going to see, and the one that you will probably start with in band, is one that looks just like this. This is a tenor trombone. It doesn't have anything, it's not really very fancy or anything like that. There's not much to it. And the range of the tenor trombone is kind of like the human male voice. It's a tenor trombone. And the middle range of the trombone sounds kind of like this here. Kind of like that. And the upper range sounds more like this. And the lower range is much lower. So you can see the trombone has a pretty wide range. What's my favorite kind of music? What's my favorite piece of music? Well, I don't know. That's a really hard question because there's so many different kinds of music and so many different kinds of music that I like. I really don't think I could pick one in particular. I mean, there's music for dancing, there's music for just listening to, there's music for movies. There's just so many different kinds. I mean, it's kind of like food. When people ask you what's your favorite kind of food, I can never answer that question because, I mean, I like hamburgers, and I like ice cream, and I like pickles, and I like pizza, and I like apples, and I like tomatoes, but they're all so different. I really couldn't pick one favorite. So I really have just an awful lot of favorites and way too many to list in the time that we have right now. What's my favorite music to play? Well, that's a hard question too because, again, there's so many different kinds of music that I like to play and there's so many just different kinds of music. But let me give you a quick demonstration. I like to play old music. This particular piece of music is about 400 years old. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's just how it starts off. So let me see, that piece is about 400 years old. Here's a little solo from for the trombone from one of the orchestral pieces. I like to play that. I like to play blues and jazz. I'll just make something up here. That's one of the reasons I like jazz and the blues, because you get to improvise, which means you get to make up music on the spot. And that's what I just did right there. I like to play cartoon music. We talked about that a little bit. Maybe some of you have seen the cartoon that's in. It's one of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, I think. And let's see, I like to play popular music too, and I know most of you probably recognize this. Is musician my only job? Well, these days it is, although that means doing a lot of different things. We already talked about a lot of my performance activities, like playing with the Greenville Symphony and playing with brass quintets and jazz ensembles and all sorts of different things. But in addition to that, I also teach at a local university. I teach at Anderson University, and I also teach private lessons. And I write music, and I compose and arrange music, which I really enjoy doing. And I also make recordings too. So I do a little bit of everything in the music world, but yeah, it's all under the big umbrella of being a musician, I guess. What makes me special? Well, that's a tough question, right? What makes any of us special? What really makes me special is my wife and my son and all of my friends who are in my life, because without all of that, it wouldn't really mean much of anything. But you probably don't want to hear about that. But what makes me special as a musician, or maybe do I have a cool story to tell? Maybe, I think so. When I was really young, I was really lucky. I was living in California and I got a really cool job where I played on a really great band, and we played for a lot of really, really famous people. People you've probably never heard of, and maybe your parents haven't heard of them either, but I guarantee you that your grandparents have. I got to play for Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and Tony Bennett and Natalie Cole and Donna Summer and George Benson and all sorts of people like that. And this was quite a long time ago, but it was a pretty cool thing, and it was a pretty cool place to be, and I'm really glad I had that experience. It's just one of the many, many experiences I've had as a musician, but talk to some people about some of those names, and some people think it's pretty cool. Well, that's about it. I hope you've been able to tell how much I enjoy playing the trombone and playing in bands with my friends and making music. I want to encourage all of you to do the same thing and look into playing in band, playing an instrument, or playing in strings, so that you can have the same really fun experiences making music with your friends that I've had too. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to me, and take care.